Welcome to This Explainer. Right, let's jump straight in. Today we're heading deep into the rainforest to unpack a biological phenomenon that honestly sounds exactly like a horror story. But as we're going to uncover, this eerie reality is actually unlocking vital keys to our own human medicine cabinet. It's this phenomenal tale of microscopic infiltration, literal mind control, and cutting-edge pharmaceutical research. So let's get into it.
Okay, picture this for a second. You're looking closely at the rainforest floor, sunlight filtering softly through the canopy overhead, and we see a single ant walking completely normally along a leaf vein, just, going about its daily routine. It thinks it's in total control of its own body, but it is dead wrong. Completely unaware, a tiny, practically invisible fungal spore has just landed on it. And that spore, it's about to completely hijack this ant's entire existence.
So the culprit here is a really fascinating organism called Cordyceps. It's a highly specialized fungus that infiltrates an insect's body, assumes control of its movements, and ultimately uses it to reproduce. The thing is, it doesn't just infect the host to simply kill it. It literally takes the wheel. Something living and growing is now inside this ant, using it as a biological vehicle. I know it sounds like pure science fiction, but it's really just nature doing what it does best. Now, what's truly staggering about all of this is the sheer scale. 400. There are over 400 different species of cordyceps in the wild fungal network out there. You might think, well, with numbers like that, these fungi are just blanketing the forest floor, right? Just indiscriminately grabbing whatever unlucky bug happens to walk by. But the reality is actually much more fascinating and incredibly precise. Because despite that massive variety, they are shockingly picky. Each cordyceps species typically targets only one specific insect species. Mycologists working out in the field have found that a specific fungus is built for one exact forest environment. They've co-evolved alongside their specific hosts over millions of years, locked in this intense microscopic arms race. And this has resulted in a lock-and-key relationship so perfectly tailored, it's honestly a little hard to wrap your head around. Now, the way this takeover actually happens shatters a major misconception. We naturally think the fungus sneaks in, wraps around the brain, and steers the ant like a pilot sitting in a cockpit. But actually, scratch that. The biological reality is so much stranger. The fungus infiltrates the insect's tissues and hijacks the muscles directly. It spreads through the body like a glowing chemical fog, bypassing the central command of the brain entirely to flood the limbs with highly specific chemical commands. So it's essentially puppeteering the ant from the outside in. Which brings us to a frankly terrifying realization about the host. The ant's brain? It's still in there. It's fully intact. It just doesn't get a vote anymore. This means the ant is completely trapped inside its own body. As the fungus really takes hold, the ant's legs are forced into a jerky, uncanny rhythm by a chemical flood it absolutely cannot fight. It's walking, but it's not choosing where to go. It is completely a passenger in a body it used to own. So how does this end? Well, the entire hijack process builds to a grim, highly orchestrated finale. Step 1. The spore infiltrates the host's body. Then, Step 2. Those chemical commands literally force the hostage ant to climb up a plant stalk to find the exact perfect height and humidity that the fungus needs to thrive. Not too high, not too low. Step 3, the fungus forces the ant to bite down hard, clamping its jaws in a rigid death grip on the underside of a leaf. The ant's body goes completely stiff. And finally, Step 4, a fungal fruiting body blooms right out of the ant's skull. It grows outward into the air, perfectly positioned to drop a brand new shower of spores onto the forest below. Okay, take a breath, because here is where we completely shift gears. As strange as it sounds, nature's horror stories are often also its medicine cabinet. This terrifying zombie-making parasite is actually serving as a massive beacon of hope for human health. The very same mechanisms that make cordyceps so deadly and precise to insects might actually be incredibly valuable to us. See that incredibly precise chemical network the fungus uses to perfectly control ant muscles? That is now a very serious area of modern pharmaceutical research. Scientists are deeply studying cordyceps because it produces unique compounds with significant potential anti-cancer properties. It also produces compounds that are being heavily studied for massive antibiotic breakthroughs. The fact that this fungus has spent millions of years perfecting complex chemical interactions means it's already done a lot of the heavy lifting for our researchers. We are literally mining this nightmare for medical miracles. Which leaves us with a pretty provocative question. Where will the next spore land? Right now, as that fruiting body releases a new microscopic spore that drifts silently across the dappled light of the forest floor, destined to land on an insect that thinks it's still in charge, we're left wondering what else is out there. What other staggering medical breakthroughs and life-saving compounds are hiding just out of sight, quietly at work inside nature's hidden horrors? Thank you for joining me for this explainer. Keep wondering, keep observing, and I'll catch you next time.